entrepreneurship, knowledge, networking. How the Southern Africa Innovation Support Program fostered innovation across SADC. The Southern Africa Innovation Support Program, or SAIS, was established in 2011 to promote entrepreneurship and innovation across SADC. In 2017, the Ministry for Foreign Affairs of Finland launched the second phase of the Southern Africa Innovation Support Program, SAIS 2, to build on SAIS 1's successes and strengthen Southern Africa innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystems at a regional level. SAIS 2 worked in partnership with the governments of Botswana, Namibia, South Africa, Tanzania and Zambia, as well as the SADC Secretariat, and pursued the overall aim of enhanced regional innovation cooperation and national innovation systems contributing to inclusive business and development.
Quite a long history in Southern Africa, supporting the countries here bilaterally in knowledge society, innovation, ICT issues, and also within regional development cooperation, supporting the biosciences network, SunBio, as well as started the innovation support program SAIS over 10 years ago. And it is important for us from the perspective of strengthening our partner countries' economic base, and innovation plays a crucial role in that, and it also supports the integration process within the region.
Talking to the development cooperation aspects of it, and having seen it being implemented in the last 10 years, for me it's been a learning curve, as well as a practical example of implementation of a positive development cooperation framework. I remember that when the first program was being signed up, and the ecosystem that was prevailing, especially when it speaks to innovation, there was really not much. I always give an example that in some of our ecosystems, you would normally get an innovator coming in and saying, I've got an idea, and pretty much there was nothing behind that. They had no clue in terms of what is the value chain of innovation and how do they commercialize it, how do they benefit from the IP that comes from it. So on that same context, the fact that we could get the right structures being built to ensure that that process was seamless is really the most positive aspect. I mean, the setting up of the supervisory board, I think was the most instrumental aspect, because we could see the governance structures falling into place and ensuring that the implementation agencies were being held to account. And at the same time, the focal points being given the tasks to drive the program on the ground in a hub and node kind of framework. I saw that as a very practical way of development cooperation with the right governance framework being implemented throughout the rest of the years that it was implemented.
Program's overall aim was divided into 3 result areas: institutional capacity for regional cooperation, improved expertise and skills in government institutions and innovation support organizations to support private sector innovation and enterprise development. Innovation in enterprises. Improved capacity for early-stage enterprises and startups to enter new markets with new or improved products, processes, and services. Inclusive innovation. Improved capabilities for innovation support organizations and entrepreneurs to develop new and improved products, processes, and services with and for socially and economically excluded communities. In addition, the support of female and youth entrepreneurship and the mainstreaming of the human rights-based approach are implemented within the program as cross-cutting objectives.
Maybe just to say first that when you run a regional program, it's a fairly complex thing to do, of course. So you have to keep the instruments or tools, as you call them, quite focused, and therefore we have chosen to work with the 3 different set of instruments or tools. So the first and foremost one is the SAIS 2 Innovation Fund, which the total purse was 3.3 million euros, and it was dispersed to open call for proposals as matching grants to the different entities that were interested to execute their market validation projects with the support of SAIS. Now the second batch of instruments is capacity building, and we have had several different type of capacity building programs in place, and these were originated from the research what SAIS did from the beginning to understand that what would our target groups, so namely innovation intermediaries working with startups and early stage entrepreneurs, as well as with operations and beneficiaries that are using services with say less than $4 a day, so the base of the pyramid market. And out of this research what we did, we ended up establishing 3 programs. So we have a capacity building program that supports SAIS Innovation Fund beneficiaries on getting them more investment ready. Second program is about understanding how to do business and how to roll out products and services / innovations into the markets which are predominantly composed by people with less money, for example, available. And the third program, which is certainly not but not least, which we were targeting to the beneficiaries, is the program that helps them to gather data and analyze data on their work and where they are implementing their project and what is the impact through the ecosystem that they are operating with. On top of this, we had 2 additional programs which we were signed, and these were including providing Foresight Training both to the project holders and their potential clients in municipal services in 5 different countries. And then we also had a training program which is more or say less focused on providing support for setting up mentor networks for the early stage entrepreneurs throughout the different countries.
The SAIS2 Innovation Fund formed the backbone of program activities, providing about 3.2 million euros in grant funding to 26 projects based in 5 partner countries. These projects were required to pursue a specific goal and had to be managed by consortia of member organizations from around the world. However, each consortium was required to appoint a lead coordinator based in one of the SAIS2 partner countries. The final requirement to be eligible for grant funding was the ability to co-fund the project either in cash or in kind. As a result of this co-funding requirement, a further 1.3 million euros of cash and in-kind funding was mobilized to foster entrepreneurship and innovation across the SADC region.
The entrepreneurs that we were supporting are playing in the early stage business space, and for that matter they've invested already in their businesses. So what SAIS was coming in with was catalytic support for them to leverage what they had already started and not to restart a business. And for that purpose we wanted to gauge from them the commitment, the commitment in terms of either resources and time that they wanted to really validate this product, service or process that they were working with. And that was one of the reasons. The results-based financing that we did was really to build competence and test how they are able to manage their businesses. So if you are structuring a budget and you understand how to deliver it, what is needed, what goes into it, and you get paid based on what is validated, it helps you to refine and think lean how you're going to deliver. And so SAIS wanted to do that indirect capacity building for the projects, and it worked for projects or entities that are well established. It was a little easier. For projects that were less well established, it was more challenging because they very quickly came to the understanding that there was a need for administrative skills, which SAIS in one way or the other tried to help them with through the acceleration and investment readiness capacity building program that we had, but otherwise also just bouncing back on the PMO for support that was needed.
capacity building. Capacity building was a crucial factor in ensuring the success of the SAIS-2 Innovation Fund projects. Once they were selected, the projects underwent training in skills such as writing case studies, program management, investment readiness, and inclusive innovation.
Well, I was involved in SAIS, this phase of SAIS, all the way from the beginning, because I was party to the preparation of the original bid in SAIS, in a very minor role, so I was there as a resource. And one of the things that we were wondering already at that time was the impact of the program, and how would you actually measure the impact. Then we formalized this arrangement a little bit later in the program, after the program had already started up and we were doing, or SAIS was already active and doing work, and then we did the toolkit for measuring the impact, and we proposed there a set of case studies and a certain methodology for achieving the case studies as a way of complementing the types of normal metrics that you have in development projects, which are things like poverty reduction in the big scale, or then the numbers of workshops held in the small scale. But what we felt was missing in those kinds of sort of assessments was the narrative of the different cases. So we proposed a system whereby we would create a way forward to include almost like the qualitative aspect of what was being done as a measurement of impact.
So as each one of the individual grant awardees was a consortium, our first approach was to try to determine whether this group had worked together previously, were planning to work together in the future, and should we be accelerating the particular project, the group, or the lead. And in many instances, the leads of these consortiums were taking the lion's share of responsibility for delivery, and they were the ones primarily in need of acceleration. So most of our focus started out by working with the individual organizations to accelerate them as institutions. And then the projects that were being funded by SAIS would kind of slot into that institutional strength. So our kind of first approach was determining who are we accelerating. The second was to do a real deep dive needs assessment to try to understand very specifically what kinds of support they were needing. And our kind of primary focus was on investment readiness and or grant readiness. So we were trying to build the kind of financial resilience of the institutions that we were working with in whatever means, by whatever means necessary that was going to be required. So sometimes we were focusing on, kind of market access, customer segmentation, growth strategies, long-term financial planning, kind of storytelling. So it really took a broad range of different kind of tactical approaches to the acceleration. So needs assessment, so kind of first, who are we accelerating? Second, needs assessment. Third, really kind of developing an acceleration plan. And then once that acceleration plan had been developed, we just kind of then began the kind of implementation process.
These training and capacitation activities were delivered to almost 40 Innovation Fund-supported organizations and had a notable impact on SAIS-2 Innovation Fund projects' success. Outside of the Innovation Fund, SAIS-2 also engaged in Foresight Training for municipalities as well as private and public sector organizations involved in entrepreneurship and innovation in the SAIS-2 partner countries. These training sessions were delivered to over 50 representatives, better enabling them to predict future challenges and find ways to address them and achieve their goals.
So we started working with SAIS at the end of 2019 to implement Foresight Training, and originally we were going to actually go and deliver physical training in 5 different countries, and with the onset of COVID-19 we obviously were not able to travel, And so we needed to pivot and create online Foresight content. And in retrospect, I think that is a bonus because we now have a wealth of open sourced Foresight training material available for anyone to use online. We ran the program over a series of 6 weeks with a number of modules that were released on a weekly basis, complemented by webinars. And we feel that the teams that got to also interact with one another from multiple countries had a much richer experience. And we also learned a lot in the process, building a makeshift studio and developing a lot more online content.
Finally, the SAIS2 soft landing platform provided opportunities for entrepreneurs from Southern Africa to learn more about expanding into Finland and vice versa. Under this program, 14 startups from Southern Africa and Finland participated in workshops and business trips organized for them to gain better access to new markets. Knowledge and networking. By leveraging knowledge and networking, SAIS2 worked to transfer best practices and lessons learned to stakeholders across Southern Africa and beyond. SAIS2 engaged in these activities in 3 main ways. The annual Southern Africa Innovation Forum, or ASAF, was the program's flagship networking event where entrepreneurs, academia, and public sector organizations could engage with each other and exchange best practices to encourage innovation and entrepreneurship in the region. 4 ASAF events were held in partnership with larger entrepreneurship events in South Africa and Botswana, namely the SA Innovation Summit and the Botswana Innovation Day, respectively. Almost 900 people attended ASAF on-site and online over the past 4 years.
So the annual Southern African Innovation Forum was started in the first phase of SAIS. That was way back in 2011. And it has also been adopted at the SADC level, remembering that this program started in the SADC region. And it provides access for entrepreneurs to come together, meet policymakers, meet potential investors, and have dialogue, but also exhibit their products, processes, and services that can be leveraged to the next, to the markets, and inform policymakers of what entrepreneurs need, what the challenges that they face. So SAIS has, over the last 4 years, as part of the second phase of the program, worked either with the SADC Industrial Week or with an existing regional event or with a national innovation event, just to profile what is happening in the ecosystem at that time. So its key function is to build, bringing ecosystem players together for the purpose of improving the delivery of innovation support.
Another major initiative organized by SAIS2 was Connected Hubs, a community of practice where innovation support organizations in the public and private sector could exchange knowledge and best practices. The network of organizations in Connected Hubs could also work together across borders to achieve their goals and support entrepreneurs in their region. Since its founding in 2017, Connected Hubs grew to comprise 26 organizations from 6 countries. In 2021, Connected Hubs launched itself as a regional super organization known as the Southern Africa Innovation Collective, or SAIC. The organization's function remains the same, but it is now run by a secretariat led by the Technology Innovation Agency of South Africa.
The South African Innovation Collective is basically a program that represents a legacy that we are inheriting from SAIS as we come to the close. One of the components of SAIS had a program called the Connected Hubs, which was a platform for collaboration amongst innovation and support intermediaries in the region. So that was one of the great successful programs that really created much more impact connecting ecosystems. So we took that as one of the programs that we're going to continue, and we termed it the Southern African Innovation Collective. So it's a body that will be a representative body of various innovation intermediaries from within the region, founded by a number of beneficiaries from within the SAIC program itself. Technology Innovation Agency will host the secretariat for that, will provide the seed funding, and we intend to scale it up and attract more members. But it will have a number of offerings within the program, just to make sure that there's a continuity and greater impact into the future. Within the SAIS program, we had the Boost Up that was housed within the Connected Hubs. So it's a program that will continue as part of the SAIC, and Boost Up is one of the very key interventions that was intended to prepare our innovators to acquire skills for pitching, for fundraising, for finding other opportunities, ultimately leading them to go to Slush in Finland. So it is a program that we intend to continue. One of the other offerings within the SAIC will be a continuation of the annual Southern African Innovation Forum that we will co-host with other events within the continent. And we have a soft lending program that is really intended to contribute to intra-regional trade amongst SADC countries. So some of our innovators will be able, through the soft lending program, to sell their products within the region. And I think these are some of the interventions that we intend, but it encompasses a great strong component around capacity building for our entrepreneurs, capacity building for our innovation intermediaries, which are quite critical in supporting entrepreneurs, just to make sure that they're able to get their products to market.
SAIC's largest externally facing activity has been to organize the Boost Up Startup Support Program in partnership with SAIS 2. Boost Up functioned as an incubator and startup pitch competition where social impact startups were taught skills crucial to pitching their businesses along with other important business skills. SAIC member organizations and talented mentors and trainers from Southern Africa and Finland provided the training. Over 900 startups have attended Boost Up setup training events, while 53 startup finalists underwent Boost Up scale-up incubation. 35 of the finalists attended Slush in Finland. Finally, SAIS 2 was deeply involved in recording data and lessons learned during the running of the program. This information has been packaged into over 20 knowledge products, some in partnership with SAIC and our knowledge partners. These publications ranged in subjects from knowledge capture and ecosystem studies to how to host events, advice on running hubs, and showcases of entrepreneurs' experiences in Southern African markets, to name only a few.
All the knowledge products that SAIS have produced during the 4 years, I really think they are all important, especially the ones that have information that are credible information that have been validated throughout the process. To point out the ecosystem knowledge, I think that is a very important documentation, not only for NCRSC, but also for the Namibian innovation ecosystem, because if you want to grow that ecosystem, people need to know who are the players in the ecosystem, what do they need to do, what resources are available to them. Looking at the numbers in terms of funding and also in terms of participation from the Namibian point of view, I would really like to say we still need to do more in terms of capacity building so that our innovators and SMEs are really able to respond to the calls where opportunities are available so that they also take part in these opportunities. And all these knowledge products that have been produced will be a good source for our national innovation ecosystem.
Using these tools, funding, capacity building, and knowledge and networking, together, the Southern Africa Innovation Support Program was able to make a remarkable impact on the Southern African innovation landscape. But we would not have been able to do this without the support of many partners, knowledge partners, and stakeholders who worked with us to make this possible. Thank you for all your incredible work. And may you continue to push for ever greater strides in innovation and entrepreneurship support.